I'm sorry. Anyway, I'd like to tell you, you can see the video in YouTube. So we have no audio, and when the video is based on the relevance of connecting our activity to transform byproducts to sustainability, the future of the planet, be a solution to the problem. You can see it in YouTube. So let's explain the first part of the presentation, where we want to get closer to Haarslev reality. It's easy to understand. We bring value to the sector thanks to technology and the systems we implement and develop for the activity, and bringing value. And this value is something important from the point of view of understanding the needs to adapt to our solutions. We see the trends in the market that moves us and keeps us going. It's good to know where the activity is going, if it's sustainable, if there's a future in it. There are clear indicators to understand we are in a future activity. The world population keeps on growing. For 2050, we'll have another 30%. So more need for food consumption. The consumption of food will increase, not only because of population, but because societies become more complex and we need more sophisticated food for the population. So there will be more underdeveloped countries incorporating to market economy and economic development, and that's a good indicator for our activity. The food industry will keep on growing. All food needs in the planet, and this will be a developing area. And another important area is the pet food. It keeps on growing. There's more and more pets everywhere, and more countries come into the part of having a pet at home. So there's growth in pet food segment. At the industrial level, we have clear indicators for our industry. It has to be sustainable. That affects all the environmental part. There's a path we have to percur, and we have to do it together. There's quality, which is important. There's need to reach the market with better quality products. So that's an area where we have to focus on technology. All the sanitary hygiene part, which is vital. We have to follow more and more regulations, have more quality products at the sanitary level. So there's a consolidation. The sector has a trend to be concentrated, and that brings an opportunity of being different, and we have to manage this reality. Maybe larger with less factories. So how to face the market and the future. And of course, the services. That's another handicap we have. We have to assure services. The activity can't stop. We have a product that perishes. This has to be treated. It's important to has let indicators as a company. We are globally, we're located all over the world in many continents in many teams.
It has over 100 years. So we have a long trajectory in the transformation of meat and fish byproducts. And as a group, we celebrated the 50th anniversary last year. So Haarslev is a company, and as a corporative group, we have half a century of activity. Last year, we had an intake order of 215 million euros. We have clients in 120 countries. We have a team of 900 employees and a supply chain with 80,000 square kilometers. So we are a very complex organization because we are not only in one location, we are present in many countries, developing all the activity to get to the final client. And second, because somehow our vocation is to develop rendering technology, and that's an industry that requires every time more and more knowledge, more specialization, better technicians. Therefore, from this standpoint, this is a very complex universe. In 2023, it was published what was the ESG, which is the program and the challenges that we have as a company at an environmental level, social level, and governability level. So that's a document that is also on our website. You can download it if you wish. We're focused on visualizing the future, not only thinking on the business, but also thinking in the rest of the areas that each company should cover: social, environmental, and management and regulation area. So yeah, we're taking that path. We want to be even better and more focused in the organization that meets the requirements, not only business wise, but also as a social company and with a environmental role. And we have been reflecting that in this report that for us is sort of a blueprint for the future of the company. As I said, we're present in several zones. Currently, we're organizing what we call interregional activity in North America and Canada, with the headquarters in Kansas. We also have the North region that takes care of the north of Europe, Asia, and Australia, and where we have our main headquarters is in Denmark and one of our main plants. And then we have the South region that takes care of the south of Europe, of the Middle East, of Africa, especially the north of Africa, and takes care of Latin America as a whole, from Mexico to Argentina, and where we have as a main entity in Spain, but also in Curitiba in Brazil, and also in France. We have some headquarters over there too. And we also decided the Mexico house entity. Sergio will be the responsible for this entity. We see Mexico as a strategic country with a lot of opportunities to develop the industry. And we also see it as a country to think in deploy production. So we have a lot of confidence in this entity that we're opening this year. We want to start going that direction from Mexico to the rest of the markets in Latin America, but also to other markets in the future. Our history in Mexico, very briefly, is a story that started, I didn't put it here, but it started in 1992 with the first cooker that we exported to Mexico. And then in 2004, we completed the period from Denmark. And it was in 2012 where we started a more serious project with resources. And our first project was put in a service technician. in order to convince the market that we wanted to be present in Mexico with service guarantees. This person still works with us. He lives in Mexico DF. It was the beginning of convincing the market that despite the distance that is between Mexico and Spain, and despite the different time zones, we knew that we could be in Mexico if we put some resources into play. During all these years, we developed different projects. We consolidated relationships with clients, with some partners. And in 2020, we even sold the first RTO. Sergio will later talk a little bit about that. It was something more focused in the environmental part, not only in the production part. And then all the zone of Central America, of course, Mexico, but also Panama, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, we consolidated a relationship with over 50 clients. For us, that's very positive. And considering that we started actively in 2012, then it's something that makes us very happy, and that we will continue to cultivate those relationships. And this year will be the beginning of our activity as a Mexican company. We wanted to reaffirm our position in this opportunity and show you the vision of our company. That's very important. At the end of the day, this company pays a service. And now I will give the floor to Joan Anton. Good morning. As Giuseppe said, my name is Joan Anton Vidal. I was one of the first people that directed projects here in Mexico around 13 years ago. And it's a huge pleasure being in this country again, because I hadn't been here 6 or 7 years ago. So what I wanted to talk about is a little bit the experience of the design and the process. The design of a rendering plan, whether it's a small chain or a big one, it has to do with a lot of technical considerations. And that means that to make it happen, we need a human team that is able to assume each challenge that come up throughout the path. And this is necessary to guarantee that all problems that come up are solved, and that we're going in the direction of the design of the project. And the experience is really necessary, and more currently when what is the rendering industry has been changing a lot. We went from having an industry that only collected the product in order to transform it, so the sacrifice houses could work. And now we're in an industry that basically manufactures products. So that means that there are some quality requirements that not long ago the market wasn't asking for. But now the design of a project, the 80% of it, it's done with the 20% of the effort and 20% of the knowledge, because putting all the equipment, that's relatively easy on a paper. But taking into consideration all the things that we encounter when we want to take that into real life, then we'll find that issues like salmonella control, going for the highest digestibility in the meals and taking the better benefit to a byproduct, you need some knowledge to do that. And that always starts in the design phase. The collaboration among the departments of Haarslev guarantees that we all have a constant feedback between the commercial department, the engineering and service ones, because each of them has a different vision of what a rendering plant is. Usually the client at first sight The last person who sees is Sergi, which is the commercial person that presents a project and a solution when a necessity appears. But we have to consider that in all this process, there is teamwork as well. There is work from the engineering department and the service department, where there are all our technicians with their experience in each of the products in each of the countries, because the specificities of each country vary, the products vary, and these shows that when we go to the last result, that 90% of the problems that we can find in a project are already solved, on paper at least. Here we have a plan of byproducts. And as I said, it's relatively easy to put all this equipment, you know, the mills, a dryer, a digester, an extruder. But in here we have a lot of factors, right? One of them is that we want to spend much more chemical products to control salmonella, because actual design of the plant already has some initial problems in the early phase of design, because at the end of the day, salmonella, it's a living creature that grows and reproduces, and depending on how we design this plant, it's going to be harder to find a salmonella problem, or it's going to be easier. It will depend on the case. So in a well-designed plant in which all the teams have a series of special features in order to not make easier the growing of salmonella, compared to having a plan in which everything gets dirty within the circuit and controlling salmonella, it will be way more expensive and a lot of headaches. When we talk about fats, it's exactly the same. That is, having a design in a way or another can change things, and it can increase the acidity at the end of the process. So creating a design, thinking of all these factors, allow us to attach the problems that the plant can present in order to solve them on paper. Then we will talk about the production itself. In order to have a transformation of a byproduct, what we need to do is to have a valuable product with a lot of quality, and it has the least possible cost of transformation. In order to do that, after a good design and after a good project, we obtain what we call a post-project process, which is take the wheel of your process. Because sometimes when we have something we can't control, we need to gain the tools in order to work and control an emergency situation and in normal situations in order to produce constantly and always with a standard quality and a standard quantity. To do so, we count on a group of people in the montage assembling phase that starts at first to help the client in the future installment that we will start. That's the experience of our project manager and the technical office that will give the advice to the client of how to set up the installment and what things we need to consider, so when this plant is working, it works as successfully as possible. This management of the project and the starting process give the client a series of tools so he feels empowered to take care of their plant. We can have a great project and design, but besides that, we have a very important role, which is teaching the client to try to take the maximum capacity to their project, because what we try is to maximize the investment, and with that success achieved, you can reinforce your confidence in Haarslev. Our experience and vocation of service had made us understand that this part of the process, which is during the starting point and the assembling process, to go with the client so they can take the wheel of their process in the future. So when that happens, instead of worrying for the functioning of the plant, they can benefit more with other things in order to have a better product and be better positioned in the market and not having to think in the plant. Because the plant at the beginning with a good group of people, it's going to give its maximum capacity with the best possible result. And at last, Harvest fabricates kitchens, the whole kitchen. But what we have to consider is that you are the chefs. You are the cooks. You might have a good kitchen, a great design, but the difference between a good quality of meal or a bad quality of meal, in many cases, in the same installments, it depends on the cook. And you really have to have that sense that this is a task that Haarslev is going to help you form your personnel, and we're gonna help you take the wheel of the process, but you have to become great chefs. Thanks. On the other hand, also in Haarslev, we think it's very important, the innovation, right? That's why we want to create technological trends in the sector. That's why we have a great team that works with a lot of effort every day to differentiate of the rest, to bring the best of our machinery. That's why I will show you many solutions, both technicals in the sense of machinery as well as connectivity and service. One of the solutions that I'd like to highlight is the spin flash dryer system. And the treatment of the blood meal has evolved a lot, as you can see on the slide. The first way in which we transform the blood in a valuable project was the batch cooker. Well, the difference is that it took 6 hours and you use a lot of energy to get to the optimal temperature. Then we have the continuum process, which the disc dryer, in which we went from 6 hours to 60 minutes and using the same amount of energy. Then we started using the air dryer, the conventional air dryer. And with that one, we improved the time a lot and we optimized the used energy. And then it came up the vacuum disc dryer that worked the same way as the disc dryer, but in a vacuum, giving better results. And currently our best system and the one that is functioning with most efficiency is the spin flash dryer that, as you can see, it takes seconds to dry the blood meal and it works in low temperatures. So it basically dries the meal with contact with hot air. As you can see with this system, besides working with blood, you can also use it to create super premium meal of pork and the creation of feather meal of high digestibility. As you can see, with this new system, based on the disc dryer and compare actually with the original disc dryer, we won 70% of digestibility, and compared to the disc dryer, it's up 7 points. ahead. So yeah.
This system also provides flash drying, short times, seconds to dry the meal, high digestibility as shown in this picture, and also provides micronization of product. And what does that mean? We don't have to run it through a mill. The material comes thin and ready to pack. On the other hand, we have one of our best solutions. It's the thermal regioxider to reduce odors. Before talking about the oxider, I'd like to give you some concepts in the sense of the odor treatments in rendering plants. We give high importance to odor treatment. As I will mention, there are large advantages when processing our product. There are, as you can see, three main factors that influence odor reduction in a rendering plant. First is raw material. Treating raw material in the beginning is important because if you leave it for a long time, it decomposes. So you have to process it the quicker as possible, avoid contact with water, and avoid the exposure to high temperatures. Then it's important to have good capture engineering, which will help to process the odors. You have to have the tube dimension properly, capture all focus of odors, the odors from the digesters, the presses and hot materials, as well as the crude zone. And with all that, calculate precisely the speeds so the plant should have no odors in all its circuit. Then we have more technologies. We choose the proper technology for each case. As mentioned, to process odors gives us advantages in the process, like working conditions, aspiration control is important. It enhances the product processing, better processing timing, so we can produce more in less time, enhances environmental conditions of the plant and cleaning, and avoids internal condensation in equipment. As mentioned, is one of the main problems to causing salmonella. And avoiding condensation, we avoid proliferation of salmonella. On the other hand, as you can see, we have advantages in work, enhancing environmental conditions. We have no odors in the working areas, so temperature of the environment. If you have been to a rendering plant, you know that's important. Reduce odors in the inside and outside of the plants. And finally, depending on the system, reduce the water in the processes to minimum. Talking about the regenerative thermal oxider, what we do is to take these vapors to over 900 degree, and we take them to over 900 degrees, oxidating them and removing the vapors with a very large reduction of the odor. almost 100%. In this case, as you can see, what we do is run the vapors through one of the chambers. These chambers are made of ceramic, helping us to keep temperature and increase energy efficiency of the machine. The air comes in through one of the chambers and exits through the other, and the third is standing still, and it helps to avoid reducing the maintenance in the chambers, enhances the cleaning of the machine, and reduces all the daily maintenance. This is done in 3 sequences. Each 120 seconds, we change the sequence. The air comes through here. 120 seconds, we cut this chamber, so the air comes here, and this one is the exit. So we avoid accumulating dirt because we clear the exit chamber. As mentioned, there are many positive points. The ceramic accumulates heat, increasing the performance of the machine. There's no need of generating vapor. So well, it allows us to process many large amounts of air with very low fuel cost due to thermal performance. So what I want to highlight is thermal efficiency, which is 95%, calculated with the entry and exit temperatures. And above all, this value reduced the odors to 98%. That doesn't mean we don't have any odors, but we reduce them pretty much. It's important to consider the more odors we have, the reduction of 98% is assured. We also have digital solutions. We have what is called CORE. It's a program that controls the process of the plant through readings and signals, optimizes the process to have better quality in the final product. We also have Haarslev Connect, helping us to recollect all the data from the plants, visualize them, and with this data obtain and have better decision making. This tool is for the organizations, not so much for the process or work fields, but for organization, for decision making with the data. To finish, I'd like to highlight, as mentioned by my companions, we are making a lot of effort with the service. We think it's important, like our clients say, to have quick services is important, and we are working and we are doing it. It's very important because it provides confidence to the client and helps to manage the plant and reduce the stops. We are enhancing the emergency services. We have a 4-people team in Mexico, and we are working with the service agreements to draft service contracts yearly, to have periodic visits, inspections, highlighting the preventive maintenance, which is important because one of the largest problems of rendering is that they stop your plant. If it stops for 8 hours, the raw material is degraded, you can't process, and you lose money. And in the end, we are here to create revenue. So preventive maintenance is important to avoid idle plants, and people who work in the plants are there to support you. And then we have large spare part stock to avoid your plant from standing still. That's all. Thank you. Thank you for everything. We are available in our stand for any doubts you might have.